by the wider attitude of don't pay for it, which I get why people feel like that. But we need to test these markets. The NFL just sold digital rights for something that's for an event that's already shown on network television, right? The Thursday Night Football, okay? And it was the second highest viewers of any program, like average of any program in the United States of America last year, behind the Sunday Night Football headline game. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
Their Thursday Night Football. And it's already broadcast on either CBS or NBC and the NFL Network. So it's already shown in two network channels show most of those games.
Right.
Yet they've managed to sell for like $50 billion the rights to Amazon Prime that were sold previously to Twitter to live stream it on the internet last season. Okay,
Right.
That's for like the next few years, that deal. So if you've got these big companies being associated with that something, obviously it's a bigger marketing money machine, the NFL.
Yeah.
But think about that. And then think about how much we've been talking in the last few weeks about streaming services, about the market being there potentially. They have to test it out. And this is a no-lose scenario, I think, to test it out.
Yeah.
The problem, or it would have been, had it not been, fucking RFL, heads up their arses, don't know what they're doing, general reaction that we get. And I'm not knocking the people who had that reaction, because like you, my first reaction was just disappointment that I wouldn't get to see it for free.
Yeah.
Or for the subscriptions I already pay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or, within the subscriptions I already pay. But thinking about it, I'd come round pretty quickly to Brian's suggested idea of it's the ideal chance to test it, because we're not going to lose out from people not watching it, because they probably wouldn't have watched it that much anyway. No. People just would have watched it because it's free, which is great. It's great, but I don't think people would have caught the rugby league bug from watching this game.
No, this one was for the purists, wasn't it? This was
either
for the indoctrinated, deep-cut fans. Not, I think I'll get myself out of bed nice and early and see what this rugby league malarkey is about.
Yeah, because what you're watching...
I wasn't asked about it when it was being played 4 miles down the road at tea time, but now that it's on in Australia, well
what are you going to be doing?
I don't really want to stay in bed.
What, 9 a.m. or whatever it's going to be on a Saturday morning. You're going to be watching whatever your kids tell you they're watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Exactly. Right, there you go. So that's the news taken care of for this week. Let's take a look back now at round 8 of Super League. Right, so to round 8 of Super League then, Mark. Let's start at the DW on Thursday night, where your Wigan Warriors were defeated 10 points to 27 by top of the table Castleford in front of 12,423 spectators.
Yeah, and we start with Amy Robinson, at AmyR_Robinson, says, amazing performance from all 17, special mention to Hardacre, Gale, Milner, Sonny Lafayette, Minikin and Eden. Tiger, right. Paul O'Brien got in touch and said, great defence, won this for Castleford. Some better last play passes could have made this game a lot closer. Thought Hicks made some poor calls for both teams. Gale is a class player, but not liking the arrogance that he's displaying. On Hicks, I don't know about poor calls. He gave a sloppy 10, but both ways. But obviously the Wigan fans around me only saw that Wigan were being damaged by it, but it was clear to see that it was both ways, the sloppy offside kind of, just inconsistent as well though.
Yeah,
and it was both ways. On the Gale thing, do you know what? He's got an edge now that he never had before.
Right.
You remember when he played for you and I said, I like Luke Gale, I think he's a really good player, and you're like, what you're on about? And do you remember though? Yeah. And I think what he was lacking was like an instinct, an edge, a sort of not quite nastiness, but there
was no killer instinct.
An arrogance, like what Paul's saying to an extent, and it makes you think of him as more of a prick when he's playing against you. But he's backing it up by then doing good stuff. So I think it's something that he maybe needed to make the step up to the next level, to be a top tier Super League player and potentially an international player of note rather than a
fringe player.
A footnote. Of note rather than a footnote.
Yeah, there you go.
Tyler Casfan said, another great team effort. After a few nervous opening sets, we won the ground battles and restricted Wigan from gaining any significant yards. 3 scores ahead for most of the game meant the Warriors had to take risks and play a little off the cuff, which led to errors. Milner and Roberts immense for Cass. For Wigan, I thought Joel Tompkins was always a threat down the right channel. Important win, onto the net.
Yes, Mitchell Dart said, until the E137, I thought we were in for a great comeback, but alas, Wigan fell away at the end and seem like they are passing to the touchy.
Wakey White says, sloppy work from Wigan on both sides of the ball handed this game to Cass, who didn't really need to get out of second gear. Tedious and predictable attack for most of the game, and when they did get it wide, the ball was dropped or launched into touch. Defence marginally better, but some piss poor efforts gift wrap the win for the Tigers. Kudos to Escarate and Tompkins, though, who put in a shift.
Fat Boy Rob said, not the best performance of the season, but the defence won it for us. Still a great game and atmosphere, but nowhere near as good as the internet meltdown. Hicks is crap. We've got injuries. Darryl never sent a text. Gale's going bald. Blah, blah, blah. Hashtag mind the gap.
Tyler Pye's fan. I don't know who said this. But said,
a bit laggers, won't it?
Cass did well against the Wigan juniors. You can only beat what's in front of you, and Cass are showing that they have a team to score the fancy and tough tries. They could be the new Warrington, i.e. it's their year, ?
Okay, Phil Dransfield, at Phil Dransfield on Twitter, said it was a good game, really was, and a good win for Castleford Tigers.
Brian Davies said, Cass were superb again. Lots of talk about Wigan's injuries, but they still have plenty of players that they've signed from other clubs that will get into most Super League sides, Flower, Club, Escarret, Luluai, etc. As well as some homegrown experienced players, so the team Cass were up against were no mugs. It had been fun for Cass, but the bubbles burst on Good Friday when Wakey are in town and Cass began their slide down the table.
Well, we'll see, won't we? Ethan O'Gorman, a well-deserved victory for Castleford. Some brilliant attacking play from the West Yorkshire side. Southern take a 12-0 lead. A cracking try by Jesse Senilafeo. Saw the Tigers come out 27 points to 10 winners over the Pie Eaters, now to beat Wakey on Good Friday. Best of luck for the rest of the season, Mark.
Yeah,
Well, you were there. I've seen the tries. What do you make of it? I've seen the scores.
I don't think Sonny Lafayette's try was cracking. I thought it was fucking diabolical defence.
It was woeful defence. I mean, I'm trying to think if he bounced off now. There were some youngsters. There's a couple of youngsters around him.
He went through Escarret, and Tautai tried to reach over the top and didn't really put in a solid effort, but Tony Clubb just fucking stood there and let it happen.
So Tony Clubb should be taking responsibility for that. Tautai, we know he's got a miss in him, and Escarret...
Well, he was chasing back as well from behind, and I think he thought Escarret had it covered at one point and then fell off and then didn't get back on, and Escarret never had it covered.
No, he's only little.
It's not Escarret's fault.
No, of course it's not. No, Clubb should have stepped up on that one. I think it made it look better. I think it made Jesse Senate Lafayette look better than he perhaps is if he'd come up against a
Jesse Senate Lafayette and Junior Moores were exceptional off the bench, though. That try, was gifted to him. But his general play outside of that, he was threatening.
Yeah.
When they came on, Castleford changed gear. They were an offload inside that were making meters into contact because Wigan had to be fearful of one, the speed and power that they could carry the ball with, but two, the ball out the back or the offload. So they became a multi-threat down the middle attack. Before that, Wigan were controlling them quite well, forcing them into errors, but Wigan's attack was an absolute joke for the first half an hour. Very similar to the Hull FC game, an absolute joke for the first 20-25 minutes. Morgan Escarret put on a decent dummy and run for a try, but he was the only player who hit a ball in the attacking red zone at pace for that stage of the game. Liam Forsyth's relationship with Joel Tompkins isn't quite up to scratch, and Forsyth did get one good ball out to Davies, but it was a tough one to take for the young kid who impressed again, I thought. But no, for me, I was hoping there'd be a lot of cast context about that game, because I couldn't really focus on what they were doing well. I could only really focus on Wigan, what Wigan weren't doing well as a Wigan fan. I struggled to see the good stuff Cass were doing, because I don't think they actually did that much great stuff in this game. They did solid stuff around. They didn't run away with it. They were absolutely gifted the second half tries. The Eden one, the ball could have gone to Forsyth and Forsyth would have scored. It was, but it didn't. It was unfortunate, what have you, but the game was lost at that point. The Senny Lafayette one we've talked about. But other than that, if Wigan had taken their opportunities, like Cass took a couple of their opportunities, the Gale try was really good play by I think it was Moores or Senny Lafayette got the offload. Hardacre nailed it, didn't he? And then had a player in support. But yeah, Cass were the better side. Wigan weren't good enough. Wigan played like a side who probably cost as much as that side cost, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was disappointing, but we'll move on.
Yes, and I think you'll probably have to be able to move on quite sharpish. The good thing for me is that whilst Cass weren't clicking offensively, they were doing well enough in defence, which is something that, again, markedly different from last year. So that shows the development and the progression that this side is making. What did the stats tell us then, Mark?
Closer on the stats than the scoreboard. Wigan actually had more carries despite the 11-8 error count against them and an even penalty count, but made less ground by 84 metres and 2 fewer clean breaks. They did have 10 more successful offloads and a couple more tackle breaks, meaning they edged the positive-negative impact play differential. Cass, however, were much more efficient. Slightly the better team on tackle success, but they turned 6 breaks into 4 tries and had a massively better 1.8 metres per carry average gain over their opponents, making over 8 metres per carry.
Very good. Individually then, who stood out for the winning side, Castleford?
Well, Greg Eden got a try in his 182 metres, half of that coming on the intercept he worked for himself. Jake Webster with a try 113 metres. Jesse Senilafeo with a try, 5 tackle busts, 116 metres. Zach Hardacre, a try assist, 143 metres, 2 clean breaks. And Junior Moores, 5 tackle busts, 149 metres.
And for your Warriors, who stood out?
Well, Morgan Ascaray grabbed himself 2 tries, his second and third tries for Wigan, 6 tackle busts, 2 clean breaks. Taulima Tautai was actually running the ball hard when he did get a few carries in this game, 101 metres. Liam Farrell back in the side, made a difference, but not a big enough difference, 112 metres. Willie Iser, 106 metres. And Tom Davies with a try assist, 149 metres, 2 clean breaks. But like I say, I think the key here was Senny Lafayette and Moores off the bench were far more threatening than the starting front row of Massey and Cook.
Yeah. Liam Farrell back too soon, do you think? Or was he targeted in for this game just to try and help things over the line?
Didn't miss a tackle. Made 30 odd tackles and didn't miss one.
Okay. I'm not criticising his performance, I'm just wondering what the decision...
No, I'm saying he was right. Because there was no problems in it from his performance point of view. But Wigan didn't put any set moves on and didn't react creatively to what they needed to do in the situation. The same old stuff, really.
Mm-hmm.
Wigan going with an attacking game plan and don't really use the smarts to shift from it. Joel Tompkins tried to a bit, but unfortunately some of the plays didn't come off. But,
there you go. Fair play. So it's a Friday night then, and Hull FC beaten quite handsomely at home, 54 points to 18 by Salford Red Devils, who find themselves at heady second in the table after this weekend's fixtures. 11,016 flooded to the KC for this one.
Rich Langley wasn't one of them. He said had to listen on the wireless, which was hard, but here's hoping this game was last season's Widnes dressing room game. Taking nothing from Salford, but this is the game that kick-starts Hull season. 2 arguably lucky results followed by a shellacking may be what pushes us back up the table. Bring back Hadley, who is pulling up trees at Coventry Trinity.
Very good. John Scotter, 15, who is Joshua's granddad, said sets of 10 tackles, then 4 then penalty, killed us, invited Salford into our 20, and then they were sharp and quick and clinical for FC. No Ellis or Houghton equated to no leadership. No one stepped up to the mark. Sika Manu head and shoulders above the rest.
Scoots28 Mac said, I think you must be mistaken. There clearly was no match with Hull playing. I spent a pleasant train journey discussing injuries and appropriate sanctions with knowledgeable SLP listeners. Nothing about Hull FC at all.
There you go. Brian Davies said, caught this one on Radio Humberside. They were worried about injuries that Hull had before the game and were expecting a tough match. Salford were superb, and adding to that some very poor Hull FC defence. It's understandable why it was such an amazing scoreline. Probably the most amazing thing, though, was the noise from the Salford fans. They sang throughout and must have taken a reasonable following with them.
Philip Nadin kind of broke the rules a little bit, but with his email that he sent in after the buzzer, but it made me laugh.
Yeah, so you get in.
If it's funny, you get in. Yeah. Well, what can I say? Friday night. The trip from Lincoln to Hull was good. The wife, Nikki, sister-in-law Jo and nephew Jack were all in high spirits. I had a hip flask full of Sambuca,
good lad.
So I also was happy. Sambuca, what a weird choice. We parked the car as usual.
I just have visions of him like going, this is my one night a month. I'm going to go fucking mental. Sambuca though.
Well, he certainly mixes his drinks as we go along. Yeah. He said, we parked the car in the usual place in Hull. Well, abandoned it as the sister-in-law was driving. We made our way to We made our way to the ground as we couldn't be bothered to cross the road for the first cash machine. We went to the next cash machine next to the ground at Sainsbury's, to be exact. And bugger me, out of order. No fear. Nipped in, 1 bag of Cadbury's Giant Chocolate Buttons, £30 cash back, and onto the ground. Straight to the turnstiles, no queue, bonus.
Let's just stop at this point. We've had Sambuca and chocolate buttons.
Once in, we headed for food at the counter. Even before the assistant could ask, I was like, chips, peas,